Today, I'm going to talk about living in sync with your cycle, with your menstrual cycle, to get clear on what it is that you need as an individual to heal at different times of your life and throughout the month. So, as women, we often try to function on only our 24-hour cycle, which is our circadian rhythm, and we also have a 28-day cycle, also known as one of our infradian rhythms, that is super important to pay attention to. We're not supposed to feel the same every day. For men and for women who aren't cycling, they are on that 24-hour cycle. But for us women who are cycling, we are changing and shifting at least 4 times throughout the month. More than that, we really are so dynamic and we change and we shift all the time. So, what I want to talk about today is helping to put together a picture of those changes throughout the month, what happens in our bodies on a physiological level with our hormones and all different things. Our hormones, our energy levels, how we digest different foods, our blood sugar, um, and so many other things change throughout the month. So when you learn to tune in to what's happening in your body throughout the month, it helps you to increase awareness of what you need at different times. And that tool is so invaluable in healing your digestion and taking control of your food sensitivities and your symptoms. So I want to kind of piece those things together. I know that this is something that I didn't tune into until I was taught this by someone else. And as I started practicing it in my own life, I started to see how different I felt. And I also realized that my expectations for myself were always compared to that time of the month where I had tons of energy. I could get a lot done. I was super social. Words came really easy. And that's just not the way that it is. That's not our reality all month. So obviously we're each unique and we have kind of different personality traits and things like that that will play into that as well. But there are natural shifts that happen for each of us. So I'm going to kind of go through those 4 phases and talk a little bit about each one and how we can use each one to kind of optimize our energy levels and decrease stress, work with our digestion. There's all these things that we can do to support each different phase. But really, the big picture that I want to communicate is that, just that we can use this tool to increase our awareness and help you get clear on what it is that your body needs at different times. And once you learn that, you'll have it for life, and super invaluable. So I'm going to start with the follicular phase, which is the beginning of our cycle. So the follicular phase comes right after your period, right after your menstrual phase and your bleed. The follicular phase is a time of new energy, new growth. It corresponds with the spring season, also a time of new energy, new growth. A great time to plant your seeds of intention for what you want that month, and a really good time to kind of start new projects, take on new things, explore, be creative, try something new. So there's lots of different ways you can support that through food. It's a great time to kind of focus more on steaming and sautéing versus like roasting and kind of heavier methods of cooking. So those lighter cooking methods can really support this phase. With exercise, cardio, it's a really good time to do cardio. You have really good energy. Your estrogen is building up towards ovulation. So eating cruciferous vegetables, adding in probiotic rich foods to support your gut microbiome. Like there's lots of things you can do during this phase to support your hormones and your energy and all of those things. So as you do things that support each activity, you start to live more of a lifestyle that's in sync with what you need physiologically during that time. So it's really connecting to your natural way of being and helps you to reconnect with your body and really just to listen. Like, that is the most important thing, is that this helps you to listen. So what you need might be slightly different than what someone else needs, but there are these general guidelines. So the biggest thing is to kind of break out of that mold and learn to listen to your individual body versus saying, this is what I'm supposed to be feeling right now. So the next phase is the ovulatory phase. It's a pretty short phase. Estrogen is really high during this time, so even more cruciferous vegetables, which are like broccoli, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, things like that, cauliflower. Those really help to get rid of excess estrogen, which is a huge thing for those of us women who have estrogen dominance. Like, we often retain a lot of that, and it can cause a lot of problems hormonally, but also with your digestion. Hormone and digestions are super interlinked. Your gut helps to produce and regulate hormones. Your hormones help with so many processes that affect your digestion and your digestive health as well. So just know that they are super, super interlinked. So as we support one, we support the other, which is a really nice thing. So for those of us who have hormone issues along with digestive issues, just know anything that you do to support one will help support the other as well. So during ovulation, this is the time to be social. So this first half of the phase, the follicular and the ovulatory, or the first half of your cycle, the follicular and the ovulatory phases, those are more outward. Like during the follicular phase, it's a great time to get stuff done, try those new things. Both are good times to be social, but during your ovulatory phase, it's when we are the most social. We connect really well with other people, tend to be a little bit more empathetic and understanding of where people are. So this is the time that you want to put on a presentation, do some public speaking, network, if those are things that you do with your work, and then just personally connect with friends, build relationships, go for a walk, be social, get out, those kind of things. The ovulatory phase is a very outward phase. For exercise, like high intensity exercise is really good. And then as far as food, eating raw foods and lighter foods, although a lot of us with digestive issues don't digest raw foods as well. So be mindful of that. You might want to just try lightly steaming and, really getting the foods to where you can digest them well. So again, it's trying it and then listening to your individual body. So that's the ovulatory phase. After that, you move into the second half of your cycle, starting with the luteal phase, which is also known as that premenstrual phase. And this can be a really challenging time for a lot of women. But during this time, there's actually some really amazing things that happen. And it's one of my favorite phases now that I support it. I don't have as much PMS. I've really worked with my hormones. And so you can really help to bring those symptoms down. And it's also it's a time to turn inward and think about what you need and, really listen to your body. Don't just plow through. I think we have a tendency to be really reactive sometimes, for some of us anyway, during this phase. So it's also a time to just kind of observe and acknowledge, and maybe save that important conversation for another time if you're able to, or, just focus on the internal work that you can do versus some of the more external actions you could take in, if any conflict arises or any situation arises, and then save that for a time, that important conversation, maybe for a time when you're able to just kind of connect and be a little bit more understanding. So this can really help with building healthy relationships. But I love this phase because it's also a time for deep work. So for my work, I get a lot of writing done, a lot of creating done. It's a very creative phase. So being able to express that really supports the luteal phase. Things to eat during this phase are like, roasting and baking are good methods. I'm trying to think of some of the foods that support the luteal phase, like root vegetables, Slow burning carbs, not simple carbs, but slow burning carbs, because your blood sugar will tend to be much less stable. So again, just listen, and notice what works for your body, what makes you feel good. Eggs, if you tolerate eggs, this can be a really good time to eat things like that are warm and nourishing and really good, healthy fats and proteins. As far as exercise, this might be a good time to do kind of like a power yoga. I really need exercise during this phase, partly to deal with the increased emotions and stress and things like that maybe I feel, and I just internalize them a little bit differently. So I really need exercise, and I prioritize that during this time. But just listening to what your body needs, and then yoga, or maybe going for a gentle jog, maybe not doing quite as intensive of exercise as before. And this just really comes back to, I know for me, I used to think that I needed to do and perform the same thing all the time. I needed to be able to do my exercise and always exceeding my last goals. And when I learned to really listen, I just was able to give myself a break. So that can be so huge. And just saying, this is where I'm at. This is part of the reason that I'm here right now. Often it's a lot of things coming together, but this is part of the reason that I'm feeling this way. And here's what I can do to move past it. One other thing I love about the luteal phase is the hemispheres of your brain are closer together. During menstruation, they're the closest, but your subconscious and your conscious mind are closer together. So you can actually access things during this phase that you can't access otherwise, and coming back to that creativity and really the listening piece too, you can kind of pose a question if you're trying to decide something and say, what is the best thing for me with this? And then just notice if anything comes to you. You can do this with a meditation, you can do it with your journaling, and prioritizing self-care during this phase is really important too. So all those things kind of come together, and it makes for a really, a really good experience during the luteal phase, instead of feeling like, oh, I'm premenstrual and all these things are happening, and why can't I, why didn't I say that thing the way I wanted to? We tend to get down on ourselves a little bit more here too. So just being aware of that and acknowledging it, and then you can do some things to prevent that negative self-talk and those kind of things. So just coming back to listening to what your body's telling you, and really supporting and honoring where you're at, and knowing that you should not be feeling the same way all the time. You'll have just come out of the ovulatory phase, which is a time when we feel really good and competent and confident. We tend to be more in that space, wherever your spectrum of that is, but you tend to be more in that space. So don't compare yourself during the two times. Know that this is a time to reflect and to kind of work on like acknowledging what's coming up. And then during the menstrual phase, it's a good time to shed whatever it is that's not serving you. So like we literally physically shed our lining during that time, that's our bleeding. And it's also, the menstrual phase is also a time to shed any of the excess emotional baggage and things like that. So as you start to notice what's happening and then support each phase, it really gets you into a space where you can just feel so much clearer about what you need and where you're at. And it's super nourishing on so many levels. So other things during the menstrual phase, this is a really good time to rest, reflect, and you want to renew. So renew and restore. So this is a time when if you want to do gentle yoga or exercise, fine, but also just take a nap or take a break, give yourself some time. And if you start doing that during your menstrual phase, at least, the first 3 days of your bleed are often the kind of the most intense, where you're the lowest energy. I know for me on day 4, I start kind of getting my energy back, but just knowing that that's going to happen and not putting anything extra on your schedule. Like understandably, we all still have to go to work. We have things we have to do. We have kids. We've got, whatever it is for you, those things have to happen, but just not adding anything extra. Scheduling in a bath, put it in your phone and just do it, give yourself time to rest and renew and really just kind of be in the fogginess of these first few days of your menstrual cycle, or of your menstrual phase. And when you do that, when you learn to start doing that, you'll actually come into the follicular phase with more energy and a clear mind, and you'll be in a better place, physically, internally, like you're going to be in a better place. So it's really, really useful in increasing your productivity and your efficiency throughout the month, because you start to put in like specific things during specific times. So, like, if I can schedule a time, to be social, or if I can schedule a time where I'm putting on a webinar or something bigger, then I'll do that during my ovulatory phase if I have the flexibility of controlling when that goes in my schedule. So just want to share these tools with you guys. It has been such a powerful thing in my life. And one other thing I want to mention is sleep. Like during your menstrual phase, you need so much more sleep. During your follicular phase, still getting 7-8 hours is great, but you can function more optimally on less. So sometimes I know I'm like, I got 6 hours and I feel terrible. And then another night I might be able to manage with that. Although I really like 7 or 8, I have to say, like, I function much better when my sleep is good. And I think most of us do. So, other benefits of doing this work, like it can help you get super clear, of course, and increase your awareness. And, that was the main thing I wanted to communicate in this video, is just how powerful it can be in helping you know what you need to move forward and what you need next on your healing journey. It really will help you sort out through all the information and supplements and strategies and techniques and diets and all the things that are out there that are so difficult to filter through and know what I need. I mean, there's no way to do it all, right? So this tool is invaluable with that. But it can also help you to balance your hormones. It can help you heal your digestion, because you're supporting your body through food, and you're just knowing what you need to eat in each moment, or what your body wants. Like, our bodies are so intelligent, and they tell us so many things that are happening, and also for what our body wants and what it needs. And we tend to get in our head over these things, and really, the more we can be in our body listening, the better off we're going to be. Stress is going to come down. Your digestion is going to improve so much as you listen and trust yourself. So it'll also help to optimize your energy levels. It can help with time management, and just knowing when to schedule certain things, and also knowing what is useful and essential and what's not, because there's so many things that we tend to do that we don't really need to do, saying yes when we don't really mean yes, and, just overextending ourselves in ways that aren't worth it. And then we can't show up fully in other ways in our life. So these tools can be really useful with that. So feel free to reach out if you have questions about this. I know when I learned about it, it was completely new, and I just was like, oh wow, this is amazing that there's this tool that can help me access my inner intelligence and reconnect with my body, and use these things to really elevate my life in so many ways. And it has been a huge part of my healing journey, and I love sharing this with other people. So feel free to reach out. Super happy to talk about it. And then, of course, if you are interested in diving a little bit deeper, or coming up with a plan for your individual healing, I offer a free coaching session, so feel free to reach out, and I'd love to take that time. We can come up with a plan for you to take control of your food sensitivities and really get a hold on your symptoms, so that, food and lifestyle and symptoms become, maybe we choose to splurge and then we have them, but also we know how to feel good and to not have them. That's what I want for you, is that you have a choice in how you're feeling, and that you really feel empowered to be in control of your symptoms and not have your symptoms ruling your life and controlling you. So yeah, if you want a free session, comment yes below and I'll be in touch. I can get in touch with you for that. And yeah, have a good day today, and we'll see you again next week.